Hi, welcome to Healthy Happy Families with The Natural Parent. I'm Annaliese Jones. I'm a naturopath and medical herbalist, and I'm talking today about baby-led weaning, or as I call it, baby-led introduction to solids. Just makes more sense to me, that name. And I wanted to talk about it because I get a lot of clients who have their knickers in a twist, and I was a bit the same as a first-time mum for sure. So I totally understand wanting to do it perfectly, and I wanted to kind of just bust the myth that there is a perfect way to do this. It's different for every child, for every family. So I'm going to talk about a couple of tips, the things that are important, the things that really aren't, and hopefully, you'll get an idea that it's pretty easy and it's actually quite simple. So you don't need to be too concerned about perfection in this and all things in life, of course. First of all, we just want to make sure that our babies are ready for solids, and so that's really different for each child. My first child really wasn't interested already until he was closer to 7 months, actually, whereas my second child was more interested earlier. So he was probably closer to 5 months when he started to explore foods. Usually around 6 months is kind of the so-called magic number, but as you've just seen from my experience, it's really different for everybody. What you want to know is that they can actually sit up, that they can support their neck well and on their own, and you're sort of looking for signs that they're interested. They're sort of wanting to grab your food, they're watching you eat, all of that stuff too. So all of that will help. If you're confused, don't be afraid to sort of reach out to somebody, pediatrician, your naturopath, your GP, friends, and just ask as well. So first time round, it's always a little bit hard to know. But also go with your intuition a little bit too. So we want to know that they're ready. And the second thing is thinking about, what do we actually start with? And again, there is so much debate about this. I'm quite keen on not starting with grains. So that's one thing I do say, but also everybody's different. And I do also think it's nice to start with one food at a time, just so that from an allergenic point of view, we're learning what works for our babies at that time, and what doesn't. So it might be that you want to start ideally with one food for a few days in a row, make sure there's no reactions, and then you can tick that box and move on. And within a few weeks, you'll be having a huge variety of foods in their diet, and you won't need to really worry about that anymore. You do need to be a little bit more cautious when you're introducing the common allergy foods. Those are wheat, dairy, and soy, seafood, and just generally fish too. So all your sort of shellfish and stuff, but also fish, sesame, peanut, and also tree nut. So those are the sort of 9 most common allergenic foods. If someone's got those allergies in your family, but even if not, you do just want to be cautious when you introduce them. 3 days in a row, one at a time. And making sure that you're around when you're introducing those foods so you can see if there's a reaction. So if they're at daycare or if they're with someone that doesn't, know them really, really well, they might not pick up that there's some kind of even more mild reaction. So those are the things you want to be cautious of. And then, of course, you want to think about choking is the other thing with all introduction of solids. So this is something that goes wrong when we're not doing baby-led introduction as well. So by the way, there's no extra risk of choking if we do it properly, which just means basically watching our children with baby-led introduction. So no extra risk of choking, but we do have to be cautious of a few things, particularly things like raw fruits and vegetables. So just making sure everything's cooked really well and is super soft, and also that they're not in the sort of perfect size for choking. So we want to watch nuts, of course. I would always grind up nuts and put them in something when we're introducing nuts. And then I would think about also grapes are one of the ones that are sort of highly chokeable, I guess. Also sort of little hard cubes of things like apple are a big problem. So you just want to watch those. But we always want to be watching our child when they're learning to eat anyway. So the other thing you just want to watch is that we do, as it gets closer to them being, a year old, we want to be watching particularly the minerals, iron and zinc. So So, you know, if they're fine with nuts and seeds, introducing plenty of nuts and seeds so they're getting lots of zinc, making sure that if they are eating red meat, that they're getting that a few times a week as well. And they obviously green leafies if they're not eating red meat. If mum was deficient and is deficient while she's breastfeeding, it might be a nice idea to supplement either mum so that baby can get more iron through breast milk, or you may even be able to get or need to get sort of a very gentle iron for baby, but obviously you only do that after you've spoken to your health professional. It's rare for babies to have an issue, an actual deficiency with iron. So you can do that through your diet or through their diet once they're eating solids. So those are just two big ones that can come up, and particularly in the Western world, iron, we know that a lot of our little ones are deficient in iron. So it's about a third actually of New Zealand toddlers. So it's quite a high proportion. So you just want to watch that. Any questions at all, just send me a DM, but remember to reach out to your healthcare professionals as well if you do have questions or you're concerned. But really, it's not actually that complicated. You can keep it quite simple, go with your intuition. Just a lot of this in the first year, of course, is about baby getting used to eating, you know, at the table, sharing meals, exploring different textures and tastes, all of that, because they'll still be getting most of their nutrition from breast milk or from formula. So go well. Any questions, get in touch. Have a really great day.